At first, I thought he might have been murdered. But with these new details and new speculations going around, it's highly possible that Brakinface took his own life. Either that or he knew he had been poisoned moments before the poison took effect. It's been almost 4 days since social media influencer / comedian Brakinface was found dead in his apartment in Delta State, Warri. And one of the questions that many people have been asking is, who killed him? I mean, now we know that he might have been murdered due to the circumstances surrounding the discovery of his body in his apartment. It was said he was found 3 days after he had died in his pool of blood on his bed in his own apartment. Initially, we weren't clear whether or not the pool of blood came as a result of being stabbed or cut or shot, but now we know that he was believed to have vomited a substantial amount of blood, which is now making a lot of people believe that he might have been poisoned. Although the official autopsy result is not yet out, his family members and friends and those who found him believed that his death is most likely caused by poison. And the big question is, who poisoned him? That was the first question I asked. That was the first question that came into my mind. When I first heard the story, I wondered who murdered him. This was a young man looking forward to a big show that would bring him millions. This was a young man that was full of life and was said to be healthy and fine days leading to his death. Even on the day he was last seen, he made a post on social media and even made a comment on one of the posts. So no one saw this coming. No one. But I have reasons to believe that Brakinface might have seen his own death coming. And one of the many speculations surrounding his death is, what if he did it himself? What if he committed suicide? As hard as this topic might be, is this something to consider? At first, when I heard it, I called bullshit because it didn't make sense to me. Seeing that he is looking forward to a show that he has been constantly and heavily promoting on his social media page, I didn't see any reason why he would want to end his life. Some people pointed out that maybe the show's ticket wasn't doing well, and maybe he realized that he couldn't make the show happen, and instead of dealing with the disappointment and shame from not being able to finance the show or carry it along, made him do what he did. But I don't believe that, because the show is in nearly almost 2 months time. It's in November 27th, so this man had nearly 6 to 7 weeks to gather himself together. So 6 to 7 weeks is still too early to tell whether or not a show would flop. 6 to 7 weeks till the day of the show is still too early to tell whether or not a show won't be a success. So I don't believe that he killed himself because of his show. But why would anyone even think he killed himself? They said his apartment was locked from outside with double padlock. So that is another thing to consider. However, I have come to understand that there is a chance that he might have locked the door himself. At first, when I heard his gate or door was locked from the outside with a double padlock, I imagined someone had come into his house, poisoned him, and had left and locked the door. But then again, I decided to do a little more research to see what kind of protector or door he had. And from what I found out, he had a security-proof door and a gate, sort of like a protector in a way. But it was still possible, according to the sources, that the situation of his locks and door gives chance for him to be able to lock it himself as though he was not around. So if that is the case, then it's possible that maybe he might have locked the door himself with a double padlock, probably because he might have felt that if anyone was looking for him, his girlfriend or family member might have the spare key to the main padlock, prompting him to lock it with another one no one would have the key to, so that he would be able to do whatever he wanted to do to himself without getting interrupted or saved. But before we go on, I need to point out that his autopsy result has not been released, so we still can't say for a fact that he had been poisoned. This is just what is widely believed by his family and by his friends and those who saw him, and according to reports also. Hopefully Hopefully, the autopsy result will tell us the kind of poisonous substance that he might have consumed, or if there was any other way he might have died, we would be notified. But what the autopsy result won't tell us is whether or not he did it himself, and the autopsy result won't also tell us who did it. And that is what we're trying to talk about today. Did he do it himself, or did someone do it to him? Now, one of the first evidence that suggested that he might have killed himself, that is, if he died from a poisonous substance, is the fact that he was found on his bed, which I had an issue with because at the initial time I wasn't so sure. If this man was poisoned by someone, I would think he would want to struggle out of his bed to his door. Maybe if they had found him by his door or by his couch or somewhere as though he was really trying to reach out for help, it would make more sense to think that someone might have done it to him. But from what was said, he was found on his bed, and a lot of the blood puddle that he threw up was all on his bed. So this man was basically on his bed dying, and he did not call. He did not reach out to anyone. He had numerous friends and family members who care for him. If he needed help, he would have called, or at least try to make it to the door to call for help. If at all someone had done it to him, I believed he might have at least shown a little sign of wanting to survive by leaving his bed, by trying to call for help, by texting or calling someone. It began to sound a little convincing that he might have done it himself when I learned that he was on his bed. I don't know if his mobile phone was with him, but if it was with him and he did not call anyone for help, because I don't believe a poison acts just drastically. I believe poison takes time. I believe poisons, they take effect. It starts with the tiny little signs, the running stomach, the first throwing up. At this time, I would think he would at least try to call someone, or at least try to make it to his door. For the fact that this young man was on his bed and he did not try to call for anyone, or he did not try to make it to his door, and if truly he was the one who locked his gate with 2 padlocks, then it's very clear that Brakinface did not want to be helped. But to contradict this theory, when he was found, they didn't find any substance around him. I mean, if he had drank a poisonous substance himself, there could at least be a bottle there, the sniper, the drink, or the food, or something that he took that indicated that he really wanted to do it himself. Often at times when we find suicide victims, we see them with whatever weapons they had used to end their lives. Most likely the sniper, the drink, the wine, the knife, the rope. Something to show that they did it themselves. But it wasn't said that anything was found near him to might have suggested that he did it himself, which is why the police are treating it as an homicide. For them to want to treat it as a murder case, it's very clear that nothing indicated that he might have taken his own life, except for the fact that he laid on his bed and didn't try to reach out for help while he was going through all that he was going through. Although it was said that his brother believes that whatever Brakinface had drank was given to him outside. It wasn't something he drank in the house. He had gone out to probably hang around with friends or hang around with people and may have been given the poisonous substance there, and he only came home to react. Which is very ironic because so far there have been videos of Brakinface circulating around the internet of him talking so much about poisoning. The first video was of him talking about rat poison.
Prince Bopo Gary. When resemble Gary, normally we don't know you before, bro. We don't know you. We not fair know you. You not be our guy normally. And me and you know say if rats don't show poison, instead of a to go out for you where the eye don't matter, go die for family front. They go consider that parliament and see me walking making me. You enjoy to finish. You enjoy every time you enjoy. You who buy to give what matter. Small thing happen. Voice note when she tell the beg you leak come outside. I dey tell you again o, if rat don chop poison na parlour dey call like that put o, who wan kill me make kill me.
In this video, he repeated it so many times that a rat would get poisoned, but instead of dying in his hole, he will come out to where everyone will see him and die. It's almost as if Brakinface predicted his own death. In the second video, he warned his viewers that na poison dey reign now, and that they should be careful of who they hang out with and the friends they keep, that no one loves anyone anymore.
It's where you go to. A poison dey reign now for the town o. You don't love anybody again. Be careful of the kind of gathering you sit.
So this was a guy who was aware of what was going on. This was a guy who knew what could happen. It's almost as if someone had tried it and he had seen it and he had escaped it. However, the person might have tried it again and got him this time. So it's really confusing to me for someone who is so aware of his surroundings and friendships and cycle, that he is so much aware that people are going around poisoning people and somehow still fell victim. And let's go back to the video where he talked about rats dying in its hole. This kind of gives me the impression that maybe wherever he went to, he figured that he had been poisoned. He understood he probably was going to die. Maybe that was why he went home, locked his doors, and stayed on his bed to just let it manifest, which would be very odd unless he didn't want to give the people who had poisoned him the pleasure of seeing him suffer or beg for his life, which is a little confusing to me. Now, this would only make sense if the speculation that his death was frat related. Now, if a member of another frat had been the one who might have succeeded in poisoning him, most likely he might have not want to give them the pleasure of seeing him fall, which is quite confusing to me because I know usually frat attacks are brutal. There's always gunshots, knives, stabs, cuts, and just overall brutal. So I have never known for a frat fight to involve poison. I always thought frat issues are usually public, to send a message to the other members. Although people said it had to do with money, which would make more sense if this was a frat issue but a money issue still. It would now make more sense to why he might have been poisoned. But then him choosing not to get help, him choosing not to call, him choosing to lay on his bed comfortably without trying to find help kind of gives out the impression that he let it happen in a way. So at this point, it's difficult to tell, it's difficult to say. We are hoping the police come up with good findings into this case, and hopefully the people involved will be found and put to book. However, we are still awaiting the autopsy, and I will be following the story. So if you have interest in knowing more about the story, please click the like button and also subscribe to this channel. You can follow me on my Instagram page especially, and my Facebook, where I make quick updates on cases like this, and I also make new and fresh short stories.